Hello, my name is María Camila González, and now I am going to explain the internal stand on the auditor to handle overall objective of the independent auditor and the content of auditing in accordance with the internal stand on auditing. What is? This is the proven general guide to the principles and producing the auditor should follow when the accountant the auditing account with the ISAs. What is the purpose? The purpose is the auditor conduct of the audit in the final steps. This is a very important point. Ethical complaints affected on the internal, professional, and quality opinion of a rational of share. What is the overall auditing on the auditor? This is the rationale about where the final stem are the from material. This is the two important points, professional conduct and the planning supervision. For the other part, this is the requirement. The requirement is the responsible and rates. This is the describe how the auditor respond to identify rights and the rights identified and the as of This is the stable and important identificant and saying the matter. This is the four application. Audit everything, audit report, audit document, and the other application is the small entity audited in the public sector, and the other use the automated tool and the technique. Now, in the internal stand on auditor 210 is the agreeing details on the auditor engagement. Purpose is the setup of the responsible on the auditor and management of the entity responsible planning and performance for the objective. What is the precondition for audit? This is third. 1. Determine where the final reporting framework on the user. 2. This is the management responsible. The management responsible is preparation, the final responding according with the application finally. And international control management is the percent of the fines on the finally start and provide the auditor with the design. And that's three, what is the limit on the scope auditor prior accept if the management on the author is small they can hear opinion. In the agreement on the auditing engagement is third. 1. The objective score, the response to, responsibility to the auditor, 3, the responsibility on the manager for identification and the financial report, 5, the reference on spec and the other. The recorded auditor depends in the assignment wherever circumstances required and review to the third and accept on the chain to the auditor is accept or not accept because it's the rational justification if in the order to the third chain to the record and finally additional consider is determined where is the ever and conflict between the finally if determined when the order report. And now, thank you.
Good morning, teacher María Elsie. My name is Adriana El Pilar Valbuena Montealegre, and today I am going to present two articles 220 and 213 concerning international standard on auditing. First, International Standard on Auditing 230, Quality Control for and Auditing of Financial Statements. Within this section, we will find the scope of the standard. What are these audits, the requirements it needs to carry out, and its application to carry out quality control. The scope of this international standard on auditing deals with the specific responsibility of the auditor regarding quality control products of our auditing of financial statements. This ISA is effective for audits of financial statements for periods varying on or after December 15, 2009. The objective of the auditor is to implement quality control procedures at the NGP level that provide the auditor with reasonable assurances that the audit complies with professional standards and applicable legal and regulatory requirements, and the auditor report issues it appropriate in the circumstances. In conclusion, effective quality control includes a monitoring process which provides the audited firm with reasonable assurances that its policy and pressure are relevant, appropriate, and operate fairly, and the auditor should include in its audited documentation the issues identified in relation to compliance with the requirements. Second, international standard on auditing 230 audit documentation. Although the standard covers a large number of requirements of carrying out the application of the same, we will take into account the most important point of the article in general. This international standard on auditing deals with the auditor's responsibility to prepare audit documentation for an audit on financial statements. The audit leads under ISAs that contain specific documentation requirements and guidance. The specific documentation requirements of other ISA do not limit the application of this ISA. Law or regulation may establish additional documentation requirements. This ISA is effective of audits of financial statements for periods varying on or after December 15, 2009. In conclusion, we will determine that the audit documentation is intended to be accountable in its work to facilitate the understanding and analysis of an investigation into the inconsistencies that occur in the development of the audit in a timely manner to reduce the risk of fraud or fraudulent financial statement that impact the oversight functioning in the institution. Thank you so much.
Going to talk about the International Auditing Standard 240. The responsibilities of the auditor related to fraud in the content on audit of financial statements, especially applying to ISA 315 received in 2019 and ISA 3302, and its main objectives are identify and evaluate the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements due to fraud, obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding the assessed risk of material misstatement due to fraud, be designed and implement appropriate response. Respond respond appropriately to from suspect fraud identified during the hearing. The auditor is responsible for the obtained responsible assures that the financial statements are free from material misstatement where caused by fraud or error due to the inherent limitation on an audit. There is an unavoidable risk that some mistakes may not be detected. As described in the ISA 2004, the potential effects of inherent limitation are significant in the case of misstatement resulting from fraud. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is greater than the risk of not detecting a misstatement resulting error. This is because fraud can involve sophisticated and careful organized schemes designed to conceal it, such as forgery, deliberate failure to record transactions, or intentional misrepresentation made of the auditor. These concealment stamps can be even more difficult to detect if they are accompanied by collusion. Collusion can cause the auditor to believe that audit evidence is persuasive when in fact it's false. The auditor's ability to detect fraud depends on factors such as the skills of the perpetrator, the frequency and extent of manipulation, the degree of collusion involved, the relative, relative size of the individual amounts manipulated, and seniority of the individual involved. The risk that the auditor will not detect a material misstatement resulting from management fraud is greater than in the case of employee fraud, because management is often in position to directly or indirectly manipulate accounting records, present information, fraudulent financial information of right control designed to prevent similar fraud by other employers. Um, Respond to identify or suspect non-compliance with laws and regulation, including requirements in relation to specific communication with management and those charged with governance, involving the appropriateness of your response, the non-compliance, and determining whether uh, Communi- communication identifying or suspect non-compliance with laws and regulation to the auditors. For the examples, an audit of group financial statements and documentation requirement for identifying or suspect non-compliance with laws and regulation. The fulfillment is of any additional responsibilities may provide additional information that is relevant to the auditor's work in accordance with this and other ISAs, for example, regarding the integrity of management or where appropriate to charge with governance. The International Auditing Standard 250. Consideration of laws, the regulation in the financial auditing statements. This international standard of auditing addresses the auditor's responsibility to consider laws and regulation in as audit of financial statements. This is a does not apply to the assurance engagement, where the auditor is specially engaged to detect and report separately on complaints with specific laws or regulations, and its main objectives are obtain sufficient and appropriate audited evidence regarding complaints with the deprivation of those laws and regulations, generally reconciled to the have a direct effect on the determination of material amounts the disclosed in the financial statements, performs specific audit procedures to the help identify cause on complies with the other laws and regulations that may have material effect on the financial statements. Respond appropriately to identify or suspect non-compliance with laws and regulations identified during the audit, and the auditor is responsible for the obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements take whole are free from material misstatements, where there's a fraud or error. When performing an audit financial statements, the auditor takes into account applicable legal and record regularity standards. Structure that the internal limits of an audit there is enable risks that material misstatements and the financial statements might not detect, even if the audits properly planned and performed in accordance with it.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Johan Vásques Sáenz. We're going to talk today about international standard on auditing 260 and 265. Well, we're going to start with an international standard on auditing 260, communication with those charged with the governance. Well, what is it? It's a standard issued by the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, the IAASB. This standard provides guidance to auditors on their responsibilities regarding communication with those charged with governance in an entity. The main objective of ISA 260 is to establish requirements and provide guidance on how auditors should communicate with those charged with governance. Those charged with governance are typically responsible for overseeing the entity's operations, including its financial reporting and internal controls. And we have the key features and principles of ISA 260 may include purpose of communication, timelines and content of communication, establishing communication protocols, written representations, documentation, and evaluating the responses. Well, now we're going to talk about the ISA 265. Well, the ISA 265 communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. What is it? It provides guidance to auditors on their responsibilities related to communicating deficiencies in internal control to the appropriate parties, such as those charged with the governance and management. This standard is issued by the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, IAASB, and is part of the International Standards on Auditing. And we have the key aspects of ISA 265 include definition of internal control, deficiency, auditor's responsibility, the reporting to management, and those charged with the governance, timeless and communication, nature and extent of communications, and follow-up on communications. Well, we can conclude about these two ISAs. For the first one, effective communication with those charged with governance is critical to the success of the audit process, as it aims at transparency and trust between auditors and the entity's leadership. It also helps ensure that auditors receive the necessary information and support to perform their audit effectively. It's important for auditors and entities to adhere to the guidance provided in ISA 260 to foster a cooperative and productive relationship during the audit engagement. The specific requirements and guidance may evolve over time, so auditors should refer to the latest version of standard and any relevant updates or amendments issued by the IAASB. On the other hand, ISA 265 is important because it helps to ensure that deficiencies in internal control that could potentially impact the accuracy of financial statements are appropriately identified, communicated, and addressed. This enhances to overall transparency and reliability of financial reporting. Auditors play a critical role in providing assurance regarding the effectiveness of internal controls and in helping organizations address control deficiencies to mitigate risk. Thank you very much for the attention and bye-bye.